Hello there. Thank you for listening to episode 22 of Hello There, a Star Wars podcast. I'm Anthony Palm and joined as always by Nathaniel Hicks.
Yes, that's me. My name is Nathaniel Hicks.
Do you like Nate or Nathaniel? I don't know. I randomly decide what I'm going to say as I'm saying it.
Real quick, funny story. At my job, I work at a call center, so they have like their stuff in the system. My name, if you go to search me like on IM or search for me in the records or whatever, is Nate/Nathan. That's what my name pops up as. And I discovered this because we were going to fill out our benefits. So like I work at a call center for internet provider, so we get free services. So whenever I was like putting my employee information, I typed in Nathaniel Hicks and it was like, we can't find you. And I'm like, wait, what? So I typed in Nate and then it popped up Nate/Nathan.
Yeah, that's like at my job. Some people are like Jeff, and then another person will be Jeffrey. And it's like, do they just pick what they want when they get hired? Like, I don't know.
So I think what happened with me was whenever I did my onboarding process, whenever I was filling out my information, it said in a box, other names, and I put Nate/Nathan. So I think they took that, and that's what it is. But it doesn't matter, Nate, Nathaniel, Nathan. I mean, I've been called Nate all my life. So, I mean, I could really care less.
Well, we'll see what I call you next week. Also, just so you know, I got the little notification during our live stream that Google Hangouts on YouTube is going away on August 1st, so we're going to have to use Skype or maybe normal Hangouts. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But stay tuned. Shouldn't affect the podcast for all the listeners. So this week, we're actually going to talk about some Star Wars books that we've been wanting to talk about. We've been teasing talking about them for a while. So this week specifically, we are going to be talking about Dooku Jedi Lost and Master and Apprentice. Dooku Jedi Lost was written by Cavan Scott, I believe. And Master and Apprentice was Claudia Gray, who I really, really like Claudia Gray's books. I enjoyed Dooku Lost as well. So where do you want to start? Which book do you want to start with? And then where do you want to start?
I'd probably say Master and Apprentice because canonically it would be first anyway. And there's stuff from Jedi Lost that leads, that from Master and Apprentice that leads into Jedi Lost.
The framing of Jedi Lost is in later on.
The past.
The actual book mostly is in the past. So whatever we want to talk. We can talk about Master and Apprentice first. I actually listened to like the last couple hours of that recently just to kind of refresh my memory on what happened. I really like it. I mean, I think I liked it more the second time around, honestly. Not that I didn't like it the first time, but I just I always kind of absorb more the second time. And I dig it. I like the fact that neither book, they're not too big. You know what I mean? They're not such huge scale stories where it's trying to be at like it's trying to make the stakes as important as the movies, which they're not. And I like that about it. Because it's giving you insight into the universe without trying to tell you, oh, well, this is as important as the movie. And it's like, no, it's not. So I think that we are starting with Master and Apprentice.
Yes.
Okay. So Master and Apprentice was one narrator, which I can't remember the name of. And I feel really bad because he's excellent.
I think it's Jonathan, narrated by Jonathan Davis. Yep. That's what I thought.
Okay. Well, he narrated the book and he does an excellent job. So I joked on a past episode that he actually has more of an Irish accent than Liam Neeson does as Qui-Gon, which is funny because it's like it makes sense, but it's like I don't know if it was maybe he couldn't tone it down so low that it was like subtle. You know what I mean? So like he's trying to do Liam Neeson, not Qui-Gon, but I was fine with it. I actually kind of enjoyed it, and then his Obi-Wan was also excellent. And then, like we said in the past, so they introduced Rael Averross, which I don't remember which book came out first. Rael was in both books, but he was a major character in Master and Apprentice, and he was he just makes a cameo in Jedi Lost. But the voicing for Rael Averross it straight up sounds like John Goodman, and it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah. I didn't notice it until you pointed that out, and I was like, oh God, you're right. It does. It does sound like John Goodman. The thing I like the most about Master and Apprentice and Dooku Lost for that matter is a lot of times I feel like when we listen or watch any kind of other content, Star Wars related, that's canonical, sometimes depending on the product, it seems like it's like trying really hard to fit into that universe. Like, hey, let's put this in here for the story that you didn't know, stuff like that. It just seems like try too hard. You know what I'm saying? But whereas Master and Apprentice and Dooku Jedi Lost both were very much additive content. Like it gave new context to stuff that we already knew in time periods that we were already familiar with. Jedi Lost in particular really added a lot more that we didn't know prior in terms of what is canonical. But they were both very well done. I guess the best way to put it was sometimes content seems to be like, oh, hey, look at me. You love this character. Hey, look at this. Like, look at this piece of content. That's not what this was. Like, and the fact of we listened to the book right before we did our episode 1 commentary, I think added a lot of, I think that was very beneficial as well. Cause it's like you see their relationship in the movie with a new light, having read the book. Like it adds 100% to the content of the main movies than it does like, oh, hey, this is something cool that you can just kind of, it feels like it's a good piece of content. I mean, it's a great piece of content. Both of them are.
Yeah. So I guess we can touch on the things that it adds to Phantom Menace, and I guess really Obi-Wan as a character in general. I mentioned to you once, I don't remember if it was on the show or not, but and obviously we're going to be spoiling both books. So if you haven't read them or if you are interested in reading them, obviously come back afterwards. If you don't mind being spoiled, then I guess hang out. But what I really liked is when Obi-Wan kind of learns to go into like a force trance in battle for the first time. And it kind of like that scene kind of gives you more perspective when he's, in battle in Phantom Menace, especially with all the droids with the droidicas, at the beginning, and when him and Qui-Gon are taking out the droids in the very opening when they try to use the Dioxis on him. And the lesson that Qui-Gon teaches Obi-Wan of I wanted you to be so good at the basics, like have them so like muscle memorized that you can accomplish anything you needed to. And I kind of took that as like that's how he was able to beat Anakin. Anakin is clearly superior in the Force. He's the chosen one. He's clearly at least even keeled, if not a better swordsman than Obi-Wan. But Obi-Wan still defeats him in Revenge of the Sith. And obviously a large portion of that is Anakin's emotions getting a hold of him. But I kind of also took that as like Obi-Wan was able to stay in the fight until Anakin's emotions overwhelmed him because of the fact that Qui-Gon had trained him to where he knows not to slip up on the little things. And that's what allowed him to do all the crazy extra stuff.
Yeah, you can also see it in Clone Wars as well. Obi-Wan's character in Clone Wars is very like, especially, and I say Clone Wars because that's the most really apart from Revenge of the Sith that you see is saber combat. In Clone Wars, he's very like meticulous. He's very precise in his movements and the way he fights. And so like, that's another thing that Master and Apprentice adds is to that as well. Clone Wars is like you're like an understanding of Obi-Wan that you didn't have before. And it was also one of the things I really liked was seeing their relationship. Like, you kind of get you get an idea, and you pretty much can tell in episode 1 that they definitely have a bond. They've got a respect for each other. They understand each other. Seeing and are listening to their interactions in Master and Apprentice where, it's not like that. They're fighting, they're bickering. Well, mainly Obi-Wan, but he's just like, I don't understand what you're doing. And that, again, that makes me feel like I appreciate their relationship more in Phantom Menace, seeing what they've gone through.
Well, that and Qui-Gon, even like you see from Qui-Gon's perspective, like he's struggling to teach Obi-Wan, and he like feels bad that he can't teach Obi-Wan. And it's not even just like, why isn't Obi-Wan getting it? It's like, why can't I figure out how to make Obi-Wan get it? And so I really like that it is kind of showing both perspectives of Obi-Wan, training. And then by the time you get to Phantom Menace and he says, I'm ready for the trials. You're like, yeah, you are. Like you've been through a lot. So I really like that aspect of it. Now, do you want to get to Rael Averross a little bit?
Yeah, because he's the one thing I'll say before we leave Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan is another thing that I really, really did enjoy is we've always known that Qui-Gon is an extremely powerful Jedi, but we never really got to see it on screen in a mainstay way. But seeing
like he did one movie and then he was out.
Exactly. So like hearing, listening to this book or reading this book, the whole things with the visions, like, in the prophecies, like really diving deep into that and him having the interaction he does with the Force. It's like, oh, this is like proof of how powerful he is with the Force, how in tune with the Force he is. The worst part that I had from this book is me just wanting Qui-Gon more Qui-Gon. Like, and it's one of those that I don't know if we'll ever get that, just because I don't know if there's a place for that. We got a little bit in the Clone Wars, which was also by Liam Neeson, which was awesome. But I really want more Qui-Gon.
I would be surprised if we get just another Qui-Gon book.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we got another Qui-Gon and Rael Averross book.
Yeah.
Maybe earlier in the timeline, like maybe not post Master and Apprentice, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I would be totally cool with that.
Yeah, I would too.
Because I think Rael Averross is a really interesting character because he's so like he wears these like rags that make him look less than homeless is basically what they describe it as. Like even homeless people wear better clothes than Rael Averross. He doesn't, clean his hair. He doesn't shave his beard, anything like that until obviously, a part in the story where he does. But, that generally speaking, he doesn't do any of that stuff. I don't know if he bathes. I mean, I don't remember if that was said, but, he doesn't like use like shampoo. You know what I mean? And so it kind of makes you feel like, all right, well, is this guy like why does he Jedi Order? Like, is he really a Jedi? The whole book, I kind of thought, like, what is this guy doing? Like, I know he cares about Fanny because of his connection with his Padawan that had died. But I like the way that end. He get a message from Dooku, or so like a comm, whatever you want to call it, and Dooku's basically saying like, hey, like I can teach you some stuff that you won't learn with the Jedi. Wink, wink. I'm a Sith Lord. Wink. Or I'm becoming a Sith Lord, wink, wink. And Rael straight up tells him, like, he's like, oh, like, even if I don't Jedi all the time, I'm still drawn to the light side. And then Dooku says, I'm paraphrasing, but Dooku says something like, you're going to be on the losing side if you stay with the Jedi. And Rael says, we don't choose the light because we want to win. We choose the light because it's the right thing to do. And that little, like, part, like, that little conversation with Dooku at the very end was really revealing about the character, because the whole book I was kind of wondering, like, is this guy just going to leave the Order at the end? Like, is he just going to go off, do his own thing once this whole thing's over? And no, I mean, he kind of realized, like, man, like, I got some stuff to sort out, but I am one of the good guys.
And that's the thing too. Like, you feel for that character. Like, even if he did, you can understand, like, what they discussed, the journey that he went through in the book. I could totally see him leaving the Order, because what else does he have? He's been this surrogate father to Fanry for 8 years, to kind of make up for the loss that he had with his original Padawan. And then he's betrayed by her. And so it's one of those, like, what else does he have? Because he seems to be like one of the few Jedi who's like teetering that line of like gray and Jedi, because like he's still a Jedi by trade.
Right. And you can kind of get that you can kind of see that's why him and Qui-Gon, are kind of kindred spirits, even if Qui-Gon doesn't know if he likes him or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the whole book, Qui-Gon's like, I don't know how I feel about Rael Averross. Like, I don't hate him, but I don't know if I trust him. And it's like, you kind of get why Qui-Gon is still willing to kind of try and connect with Rael, because they are kind of similar in that sense, with the whole, like, kind of exploring all aspects of the Force without like getting too crazy with like looking into the dark side and all that, but being open to, like, kind of more quote unquote gray Jedi ideals. Yeah, I mean, this book focused a lot on prophecies, like a lot on prophecies. When the time for the Kyber that isn't Kyber is here, it is time. The time of prophecy has begun. It's like something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's almost verbatim. Yeah, there might be like
something
a word
like
off.
It's like, I remember like Obi-Wan himself repeating it to himself, and he's like, that's complete nonsense. And I'm like, yeah, totally is.
Yeah.
But I like that twist of the and I want to talk about the other two characters too. Why can't I remember their names? The one that was captured by the slave people, who that company I also can't remember the name of. God, I like just listened to this the other day, and like it all just like farted out of my brain.
Oh, you're talking about, I don't remember her name, but his was the Merrick's was their ship.
Rahara
and
Raharawick and I know his name, but like it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't find a wiki for this book.
Raharawick and yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem, guys. It's like what these books are like 6 to 13
and I
hours
chew
long.
through these books so fast that
he does. He really does. He really does. I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue.
But Raharawick she's the one that's who are the slave people that captured her?
They're owned their property of Zerka
Corp. That's it.
Yeah, I like how they really dive deep into that. Like that wasn't just hey, they own slaves. Like that was a sticking point for the book.
And the fact that Rahara really like put her life on the line and then got caught, and then she thought she was okay because what's his name that I can't remember gave her the gloves because it covers where the chip would be, and then the robot's like initiating facial scan, and then like your heart sinks for her.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm so upset that I can't remember.
No, it's like it's not showing up here.
This Raharawick.
Pax Marifer.
He was raised by the droids.
Yeah, he was, and that was a sad story too. Like this guy who was raised since he was like 5 or like 6 years old by protocol droids for his entire like teenage to adulthood. You know, because they were on this abandoned ship. And so it's one of those that like he was kind of a jerk, but you can see where he's coming from. Like you can tell he kind of talks like a protocol droid. He does, yeah.
Like he really does. Like the whole time it's like he thinks he's being witty, and Rahara's like, what? And he's like, I'm sorry, that's like I was trying to be like.
The thing about this book that I enjoyed also is the different twists. Like not necessarily like M. Night Shyamalan twists, but like
the different twists and turns of the book.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed them. Like the whole thing of when the shields go up and they're using those.
That's where I was going with the Kyber thing. So
yeah,
I like the fact that the crystals that Rahara and Pax were mining ended up playing into the story later on. So when Fandry is asking Obi-Wan about like how do you like take apart your lightsaber, and then she swaps in the other crystal.
Yeah.
And like I kind of was thinking that when they were talking about like, well, it's Kyber, but it's not Kyber. I was like, is someone going to use this in a lightsaber? And they did. And it was really cool how like I was thinking that. How like they kept saying about the shields. And I was like, what if the other Kyber crystals? I didn't think it was going to happen that way. I thought that they would maybe like consciously put the crystals in their sabers.
Uh-huh.
I didn't think that Fannery would accidentally give Obi-Wan the tool he needed. I thought that Qui-Gon or Obi-Wan would have been like, what if we try these crystals? Maybe that'll get through it. But I like the fact that came back up and cut through the shields, but didn't kill Darren. It's like this Darren with like a rolled R or whatever. I don't know. Who I just liked all the characters in this book. They were all very interesting. Not all of them were super deep, but they were interesting enough. You know what I mean? Where like Darren was very like you could tell something was up with him the whole time. The Zerka Corp lady, like I just wanted her to get punched in the face. And then another part that I like that ties into Qui-Gon and Qui-Gon and Dooku that you talked about is when Qui-Gon, when he's younger, as a flashback, is held hostage by the assassin, and Dooku just straight up force lightnings the hell out of her. Yeah, and Qui-Gon like sees the darkness in Dooku then, and that's like way, way before Dooku lost, let alone Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
Or rather before, for instance.
Right, yeah. And that's what was really cool is going from Master and Apprentice straight to Dooku Jedi Lost. It's like, it was cool to see Dooku, in the book and the flashback scenes, and then to get more of him that actually gives you his background story.
Yeah, and it was weird how like we got so much Rael Averross in Master and Apprentice, and then we get like just a little snippet of him in Dooku Lost. So yeah. I don't remember which book was first. I think Dooku Jedi Lost might have been first.
Because I think Dooku Jedi Lost came out in April. And I feel like
I think they both.
I'm sorry, Master and Apprentice came out. I'm trying to go to the actual wiki because when I go to Audible, like it just takes me to play the book.
So they both came out in April. Master and Apprentice came out like 2 weeks before it.
Okay, yeah, it came
out. I think they intentionally were kind of released close to each other because they were so they had links to each other. You know what I mean? Like they're not sequels to each other, but they do kind of reading or listening to both enhances each experience. on like a second listen afterwards. So I guess we could wrap up on Master and Apprentice. Do you have any thoughts on like the whole Pijali thing and how Yoda feels about and the whole Qui-Gon turning down being on the council?
Well, the whole Pajali thing, like, I don't need anything else from it. It worked in the story. It's not something I feel like we need to go back to. You know,
It's
I don't
like
feel like
it's similar
it's a
to
self-contained
like
story.
yeah, it's similar to another book that you're almost done with that we'll talk about maybe next week or maybe the week after, with A New Dawn. It's similar to that, where it just takes place in one place and it's a nice tight story, and it's not saying, oh well, this one thing that happened on Pijal affected Mustafar. It's like, oh, really? Like, so it doesn't do something like that. So I like that. The Fanry stuff I thought was interesting. That I didn't really see the twist coming, honestly. I thought
either.
Darren was up to something, but I didn't realize Fanry.
It was Fanry. Yeah.
I'm glad that Pax and Rahara got a happy ending.
Yeah.
As far as we know, maybe they went off and got killed by pirates. I don't know. And
the last thing for me was I really enjoyed the epilogue where Obi-Wan's over Qui-Gon.
Yeah, it was very somber. It's like I love stuff that adds new wrinkles to something we already know. So it's like, so for anyone that hasn't listened or hasn't finished the book yet, and I don't know why you're listening to it still, but whatever. It's basically right immediately before they light Qui-Gon's funeral pyre at the end of Phantom Menace.
And so it's an internal
Padme
monologue.
is basically like, are you ready? And then Obi-Wan like internally is like, am I ready to like set my master on fire and scatter his ashes to the wind? And it's very somber and depressing, but he comes to the realization like Anakin is the chosen one, or at least like if Qui-Gon believes Anakin's the chosen one, then I believe he's the chosen one. And if he told me to teach him, then I have to teach him. It's like I like that there's more going on in Obi-Wan's head than him just standing there and the end of the Phantom.
Right. Yeah, that's what was incredible. It's a great internal monologue that gives you more depth to that scene than just him being like calm, cool, and collected. It's him being like, I have a lot of work to do. You know, like this is my mission now.
And the amount of emphasis on the prophecies in Master and Apprentice kind of enforces like why Obi-Wan really did believe he had to teach Anakin.
Yeah.
So I guess we can wrap up with that. There is some more stuff that I guess we can just talk about as we think of it in like later episodes and just tie it into stuff we're talking about. But I definitely recommend Master and Apprentice, Claudia Gray, narrated by, as you said,
Jonathan Davis.
Jonathan Davis. Now that's not the same Jonathan Davis as. Am I thinking who's Gimli?
Oh, that's a good question. That's definitely not like Gimli from The Lord of the Rings. That's definitely not Gimli.
That's John Rhys Davies. That's what I was thinking.
That's what I said.
Similar names, but not the same. That's why I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like Mark Thompson, I still feel like is the OG. Like he is the guy when it comes to these audiobooks. But Jonathan Davis did a really fantastic job, not just narrating, but his character work. Like it was very impressive, and it really immersed you in the story.
Yeah, Mark Thompson is excellent, man. He's that Yoda, so good.
That Yoda and Dooku Jedi Lost.
I didn't know it was him.
Oh my god, it was so good.
But even I'm sorry to go back to Thrawn like usual, but even in Thrawn, like some of the voices are like, like some of them, it's like how can he do literally every single character? So some of them they're like, okay, but like he's Arinda Price, like the fact that he is a guy doing the voice of a female, but I'm sold on it. You know what I mean? Because I know Arinda from Rebels, and obviously it doesn't sound like her, but he sells the character where I buy into his Arinda Price, and especially I like his. Well, I think it's Thrawn is exactly what I picture as Thrawn. And who did Thrawn in Rebels? It was Mads Mikkelsen's brother, Lars Mikkelsen. I think it was Lars Mikkelsen.
I'm looking it up.
Which he did an excellent job as well. But I mean, Mark Thompson has been doing Thrawn since the re-release of the audiobooks for Heir to the Empire. So
yes, that was Lars Mikkelsen.
Yeah. So I think he does an excellent job as Thrawn. I can't wait for Eli to come back in Thrawn Treason. I really, really hope they don't kill him off. I hope it's not one of those things where like he's back in the first chapter, but in the second chapter he's dead. Like I hope it's not one of those deals.
Yeah, you warned me about Mark's Kanan in A New Dawn. Like we both had an issue with his young Anakin, kind of. You know, his young
Anakin. Yeah, it was kind of like
but the
Surfer
Kanan.
Bro Anakin.
I see what you're saying. Like from the episodes that I've seen of Rebels, it's close. Like it's
because
not
because it's more close to the actual character that we know. I don't mind it as much. Whereas Anakin, like, it doesn't sound anything like Matt Lanter or Hayden Christensen, and so it throws me off. Whereas his Kanan, even though it's kind of a similar voice to his Anakin, it's closer, way closer to Freddie Prinze Jr. So I don't mind it for Kanan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dooku lost. Dooku Jedi lost. Dooku Jedi. That's it, right? Dooku Jedi. Dooku
lost.
Dooku Jedi. Jedi Dooku. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
Dooku Jedi lost. That's it. It's an interesting read. It's very short. It's what was it, like 6-7 hours total?
It was 6 hours. Yeah.
It was. I don't know if it's an abridged version. Do you know if it was abridged? Because it does have a full voice cast. And there's not really any kind of like omniscient monologuing in between.
There's not.
So I don't know if it was abridged or not. I'm very curious to find that out. But the voice cast was great. The only thing that threw me off a little bit is that older Dooku, has more of a 30-year-old guy's voice and less of a old man's voice. And so it was strange, but there were so few scenes with older Dooku that I was just like, whatever about it. They probably didn't want to get someone to do the old Dooku and someone to do the young Dooku, and they probably just figured get the same person. So it's fine. I thought it was fine.
That voice actress for Asajj, that's not the normal Asajj voice actress, is it?
I don't believe so.
Because it was whoever it was close. It was really good.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I know we're like clicking our keyboards in the middle. I don't think it was her though.
Full narration cast. There you go.
Because Asajj Ventress from the Clone Wars is Nika Futterman, and I don't think that's who it was on.
Orlaj Cassidy is her name.
Yeah. So okay. So it was not the same actress, but she did a hell of a job.
She really did. Yeah.
So I really dug this. It felt, because it was a full voice cast and because it was shorter, it felt like a big Clone Wars episode, which I actually liked about it. Which, like, some people, I saw a lot of people online commenting. I didn't realize so many people didn't like Thrawn Alliances until I went online, and then I was like, oh, everyone hates this apparently because everyone thought it was just one giant Clone Wars episode, which I understand. But I liked the fact that Dooku Jedi Lost was kind of a large Clone Wars episode. Like, I liked that about it. It was kind of just an adventure that just kept going. I think I finished it in one sitting, maybe one and a half sittings.
I think I finished it in like 2 or 3. I mean, it didn't take me very long, but that's another thing, because it was a full cast and it read just basically like an audio play. It was like very encapturing. Like every scene I was like in, like I didn't have a problem focusing on what was going on. I didn't get lost. Like I knew what was going on. And I think I texted you about this, just hearing Dooku's backstory, where he comes from, like, you know, his journey. It's one of those, the funny thing about the book is throughout the progression of it, it's like, oh, I can kind of see, you know, I have like respect for him. I have an understanding of him. And then it kind of goes towards the end and you're like, well, yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, I that ending totally caught me by surprise, because the whole book, it's kind of leading you to like, well, Dooku, you know, like he's in the Jedi Order, but he also has, like, he accidentally found out where he was from, and he accidentally found out he had siblings, and that he was actually like basically the heir to Sereno, and well, I guess he wasn't the heir, but he eliminated the other heir, I guess. And the whole book, it's like leading you to like be sympathetic to Dooku, and then the ending, he's just awful. He's like, okay, never mind. You didn't learn anything, and you're just pure evil now.
So let me ask you a question. This is something that, and I'll probably understand better on like another listen through. Was it? Do you think it was everything building up to that moment where he bonded with that creature that turned him to the dark side, or do you think the creature was that powerful that that's what turned him to the dark side? Because I don't remember the name of what it was, but it was that ancient creature that the Sith used.
I don't think that turned him. I think that opened his mind. I mean, we're led to believe that Palpatine is the one that really, because his sister, what was the sister's name? It's not Jenna. It's like something like that. Jana, I think it was.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Jenza, right?
Jenza. Yeah, Jenza.
She even says like that man's corrupted you, and Asajj is like, what man? Because Asajj doesn't know about Palpatine at this point. I don't know if she ever finds out about Palpatine, honestly, but well, Sidious, not Palpatine. So I think that it was implied that like Sidious is the one that corrupted Dooku, because even after he came into contact with that dark being, he still was all for like saving Sereno and all that. And then at the end, clearly he doesn't care about Sereno anymore. He's just using it as basically like an asset more than, he actually cares about it.
Yeah. The whole thing that I thought was super interesting about it was the relationship that Asajj had with her old mentor. And one of the things I liked and didn't like about it was they never explained if he was just a Force aberration that was haunting her, basically, or if she was just going crazy.
I think she was just going crazy. I took it as it was in her head.
Yeah. It's one of those, the way it plays out, it's one of those, it's kind of cool that you really don't know. See, I'm more on the side where I feel like that because during that stage, that period of time with Asajj, she was very much still like, she was dark side, but she was still very conflicted, way more conflicted than any other Sith we've seen so far leading up to that point.
Right. And eventually she does turn to the light with, what's his name?
The book that they're in, right?
Not Averross. It's a similar name to Averross. Quinlan Vos.
Yeah.
Which I do want to read that or listen to that as well, but let's do one thing
Dark
at a
Disciple,
time. Let's do one thing at a time. I still have the Alphabet Squadron I gotta listen to too, and Treason's out on Tuesday. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I like how conflicted Asajj is. She doesn't have a lot. Like there's not a lot of her in the story. She's kind of framing the story of
she's
young
us
Dooku.
Basically. She's us. Like she's the listener.
Right. She's framing the story. What do you think of the story told of kind of the story of Sifo Dyas?
That was what I wasn't expecting out of the book, and I really, really enjoyed it. We got some more like backstory on Sifo Dyas later in Clone Wars, which I thought was awesome. And that's, wait, was Sifo Dyas in the Lost episodes, or was he in season?
That was the Lost
5.
episodes.
Okay, because I know they had the Order 66 episode that I really loved as well. That was like tying directly into Revenge of the Sith. I thought that was awesome. But I love this. I loved that there was that relationship between him and Dooku, like they were, best friends basically, and that it was one of those that Sifo Dyas just wasn't a throwaway character. Like this is a super important character in this story, and we get to hear more about him. What I loved about his character was, which is kind of messed up to say, but I loved
watching him unravel.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the fact of he was burdened, like he was so strong in the Force, he was burdened by visions like for his entire life, basically.
Right.
Like,
and I really like the fact that it doesn't straight out say it, but it implies like his paranoia because of his visions is what led him to go commission the clone army.
Exactly.
Yeah. So like it doesn't outwardly say that, but you can kind of just infer like, oh, okay, I understand why this dude was so paranoid that he wanted to go commission an army.
Yeah, because he saw it coming. He saw, which is an interesting conversation to have. It's like if he has that foresight to, hey, I see this war coming. We need to have a clone army. Could he not have seen? Now, granted, you can throw in there that Palpatine was like clouding all of the Jedi, so you could throw that in there. But I was going to say, how could he not see that happening as well? That being turned. But I guess you could have the scapegoat of Palpatine being that powerful that he's clouding the minds of the Jedi. But yeah, I love that. I really, really enjoyed it. The only problem with it was the confusion after that in terms of the whole thing that leads into Attack of the Clones with, what was the whole deal with him in the timeline, which me and you had a conversation about, and we actually finally figured it out. So that's kind of an issue with them not outright saying it. But I think if they would have outright said it, it would have been kind of too on the nose.
Yeah, no, I was content with what they showed of it. Like I said, I think that it was heavily implied that like Sifo Dyas commissioned the army because of his paranoia.
Yeah, and the fact that like you saw that relationship. One of the scenes I loved, which is kind of the realization with Sifo Dyas, is the scene where he sees that disaster going on, and they go to the planet. They figure that out, and they go to the planet, and like that whole thing starts to unravel. Like I loved that scene because I loved how it was paced. I loved how it was played out.
No, I agree. Yeah, when they're saving everyone in the hospital.
Yeah, Yeah, it was really, really, really good. The only problem I have with Jedi Lost is the type of book it is, because it is like an audio play, and how short it is. I tried to go back and jump into Thrawn Alliances like right after that, and I couldn't.
Like
Because
threw you off. Yeah, you had to like
because it was like
you had to like reacclimate to a normal audiobook.
that, and also I went from 6 hours to this one being 13 of a book that I've already listened to, and I'm like, oh god, like
I know it goes fast. Once you get like an hour in, it goes fast though. I love Thrawn 1. Once Thrawn meet Alliance.
Yeah.
I like Alliances, but like it's clearly not as good as Thrawn 1.
It's a sequel.
Clearly not as good. Well, the problem is that it's 2 stories in one. I feel like it would have been better if he just had split it into 2 smaller novels.
Yeah, that would have been good.
And said these 2 books go together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now both of them have importance in the story. Like the stories overlap for sure, but like there's honestly a lot I feel like of the Clone Wars part of the story that I feel like didn't need to be in there.
Well, I feel like even if it was one book, but like part 1 was the Clone Wars part, and then part 2 was the Vader part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then at the end, when it's like when Thrawn is like, we call them Skywalkers. And it's like, oh, it all ties together. But it's like going back and forth between, and the fact that there was an additional perspective of Padme in the Clone Wars as well, which I didn't mind as much, but it is like it is jarring to have like 2 perspectives from the Clone Wars timeline and then the one main perspective from the Vader timeline. And it was kind of confusing, but Thrawn 1 is clearly the superior novel, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone argues with that, but
no.
You should go back through Thrawn 1. You have 5 days.
Yeah.
No.
I have got 6 days.
Yeah, 5. Well, the 6th day is when it comes out.
Yeah.
It's great. Go. Oh my god. If anyone listening hasn't listened to or read the first Thrawn novel of the new canon, obviously, so Star Wars Thrawn, it's so good. Just go get it however you can get it. Don't steal it, but go buy it.
And that's the thing about both of these books that we're talking about today is Thrawn for the longest time has been both of our favorites. Like the one of if not the best audiobook Star Wars wise that we've listened to in recent releases. But with these 2, these were really up there. I don't think they're better than Thrawn, but in terms of telling a story,
I don't know if I would put Dooku Jedi Lost at my top 3 or 4 just because it is kind of an audio play. It's almost kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Master and Apprentice is definitely up there. I would say it's probably Thrawn. Master and Apprentice might be second for me.
A New Dawn's getting up there pretty high for me.
Yeah, I do really like A New Dawn as well. I can't wait to talk about that with you as well when you finish it, because I really liked it and I really, really loved the villain in that book. And I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I guess we're gonna be starting a Hello There book club. So tune in next episode. Go read or listen to Star Wars: A New Dawn before we talk about it, and then you can listen in with us if you've already read it. Awesome. Tune in. We'll talk about that. I really, really loved Count Vidian. I thought he was awesome. I thought he was the villain that's a Star Wars book has, or at least I know I'm reading them all out of release order and all that. But so for me, he was the villain that I was kind of looking for because he was kind of a palate cleanser. Because a lot of other villains in the books we've been reading, I mean, Dooku Jedi Lost, Dooku himself was the villain. It turned out. Master and Apprentice, like it was Fanry sort of, but like it's still kind of like it was a mystery the whole time, and it wasn't like it's just a big sneering villain the whole time. Thrawn, the first Thrawn, like Night Swan's a bad guy, but he's actually a good guy and sort of, and then Arinda Price is actually turns out to be sort of the bad guy too.
Last Shot, like you got a bad guy there, but he's just kind of milquetoast. Like there's
Count Vidian is what I wanted Faizan Gore to be. From Last Shot.
Yeah.
Like Faizan Gore, it was like I thought he was going to be all badass and intimidating, and then he was just kind of a punk. And Count Vidian, like spoilers, Vidian loses because of course Kanan needs to go on to be in Rebels and Hera too. But Vidian, like he was just a evil, sneering bad guy, and it was just nice to actually just have a straight up classic bad guy for once.
Yeah, I wholeheartily agree.
So I'm excited to talk about that. Any final thoughts on Master and Apprentice and Jedi Lost?
Go pick them up. They're definitely worth your time. They're completely additive parts of the story, not anything to just kind of shoehorn in by any means. They're really special, really, really special. They both have different emotional ties. in terms of like the things that they cover and then like the emotions they'll get out of you basically. But Master and Apprentice was really kind of a special book. Like I'm with you. Jedi Lost is kind of its own thing, so it's hard to lump them in with other books. But Master and Apprentice for sure is a really, really special novel, and it's fast too. It's 6 hours. It's not 13 or 13 and a half like the Thrawn books are. So it's something that you definitely need to pick up if you haven't already. So good. So good.
Yeah, and it's refreshing that it's so short and has a full voice cast, that it's not gonna kind of wear you out the way some of the longer audiobooks do. So yeah, definitely check them out. Again, we're gonna be talking about A New Dawn next week, and I'm not gonna. I need to not let myself finish Treason in a day and a half. So
don't do it. Don't do
it. Like, I know I'm just gonna like put it on, and then I'll look down and be like, oh, 7 hours in. Because I just put it on during work, especially because like these so Alliances also came out around the same time so every end of every like calendar quarter I have to do valuations at work, and Alliances came out around this like the end of a quarter too, I think, and it's just like I just put them on while I'm doing my vals at work, and I look down, I'm like, oh my god, I finished half the book. So that's why I get through them so fast. And sometimes like when I'm mad at like a pod, like I just don't want to listen to any of my podcasts. Like sometimes I'll look at my podcast app. I'll be like, I don't want to listen to any of this. That's when I throw on an audiobook, and it's no different than I listen to 10 podcasts that day.
Yeah, see, the problem I have is that like I said, work at a call center. I'm in the sales department, so we're slow most of the time, but I can't just go through books like I would like to with my old job where I was just driving in the car by myself, not bothered, because I'll get a call and I have to pause. So that's what takes me longer to get through the books. But yeah, New Dawn, almost through with it. Looking forward to talking about that definitely, because that's one, man. that's one, and that's definitely something getting me excited to go through Rebels.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to go through Rebels, because I kind of want to rewatch it as well. I don't know if my wife can take me rewatching Rebels after I'm almost done with my second rewatch of Avatar: The Last Airbender in the last like month and a half, and I also had finished a rewatch of Clone Wars a couple months ago, like right before they took it off Netflix. So I don't know if she can handle it, but maybe I'll put like episodes on when she goes to bed or something, because it's only 4 seasons. So
yeah, it's not bad.
But yeah, so I think we're probably just going to talk about books for the next couple episodes, because there's not much to talk about with The Rise of Skywalker yet. I mean, if something huge drops, obviously we will talk about it. And then Jedi Fallen Order isn't out until November, I think.
It's November or September.
I think it's November. So, but either way, we're not gonna be able to talk about that until it comes out anyways. So we'll probably be talking about books for the next couple episodes. I just Google searched November and not Jedi Fallen Order. November 15th.
Okay.
So yeah, we will talk about that when it comes out. But for now, I mean, once you start your Rebels rewatch, maybe we'll talk about that as well. Yeah. I'm really interested. There's a couple of specific things in Rebels, like specific episodes rather, that I really want to talk to you about. So maybe we'll revisit Star Wars Rebels as well, in kind of the lead up to the Rise of Skywalker. And then maybe I'm not free this weekend. Maybe next weekend if you're free. I don't know. Maybe we'll do Revenge of the Sith commentary, because I do want to get through those commentaries before Rise of Skywalker comes out.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll save Solo and Rogue One until after Rise of Skywalker. Like maybe we'll just do the saga movies leading up, and then we'll do the anthology movies afterwards, maybe next year. But I do want to get through those as well. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this week. Anything else to add before we sign off?
No, not really. Honestly, there's some Galaxy's Edge drama going on right now with some Disney making some changes that we'll talk about probably at some point. But that's you've been catching up on Thrawn, and I've just been in the rumor mill and the news cycle for everything Galaxy's Edge, even though I know I can't go there until probably 2 years from now. So it's one of those, I feel like I've already gone through those experiences.
I'm going there anytime soon.
Yeah. I feel like I've already been through those experiences so many times.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it. May the Force be with you.
You're a bold one, General Kenobi.